Hi everyone! Welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. I'm so excited to have you here with me in the studio for this week's episode. I thought we would do a really fun black canvas special, kind of a northern light scene, relatively simple, but we're going to be working with a lot of really fun colors today, and we'll throw in some cool stars at the end. Just really have a nice kind of night scene under the stars and colorful sky. If you are planning to paint along with me, be sure to check the description below for the paint list, and let's jump up to the canvas. I've already prepped my standard 18 by 24 inch canvas with a very thin and even coat of liquid clear. That is all that's on the canvas. The canvas was prepped with a thin coat of black gesso and set to dry overnight. The canvas was prepped with the Liquitex. This is a acrylic paint. You do have to let this dry completely before you start painting with the oil paint. So I prepped a white canvas with this black paint, let it dry, and then a thin even coat of the liquid clear. I just used a foam brush to push it into the canvas, and it's been sitting for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. So I like to make sure that it's nice and thin, or just let it sit on there for a few. I don't usually like to get started right away with the liquid clear because it's kind of a tricky one to work with. So let's jump into it. I'm going to grab a 1-inch brush, and we're going to start building some of these really fun colors. Let's go right into the Indian yellow, and we're going to pick out kind of our horizon area. And start in with some color. I can feel that the liquid clear is pretty thick on here, but that's okay. We'll be able to work with it. We're just going to start with the gold at the bottom. This is a translucent color, so it's not going to be super bright. We just want to slide that right on the canvas. And there's no way this paint would slide as good if you were not using liquid clear. Just going to keep working with this yellow to start. I really wanted some fun, bright colors today. Let's grab a little bit of red. I'm just going to be working with some long strokes here. A little bit more red. Right on the edge of this Indian yellow. I think we'll go right into some crimson now. Work this in. We're going to start with the pure pigments, and then we will start blending in some white, and it's just going to pop. think I'm going to grab just a touch more of this Indian yellow, just right on the dirty brush, no big deal. Indian yellow, and then we're going to go into a little bit of phthalo green. See what that turns into. Grab a touch of yellow. I want it to be a little bit of a brighter green, but we're working with all of the paints on the brush. It's still a dirty brush. We want that. A little bit more phthalo green. And we'll just pull some down into our crimson here. All right, we're getting so close to some of the fun parts. We're just going to keep setting the scene. I've grabbed a little bit of Prussian blue now, and I'm just going to swirl it into the top. We're going to just see what this turns into. This is my favorite part. It's just the surprise at the end. Let's grab some of that Prussian blue and phthalo blue. We'll just throw some color down below. I don't know. All right, I'm going to grab a big blending brush and just do a little bit of softening, starting in this golden area. Just long strokes, letting them kind of glide together. Now, we're going to pick up a fan brush and see what we've got going on up here. Straight into the titanium white. Then we're going to pick up some of our yellow. And we'll pick out maybe somewhere in this area. Let's pick up a little bit of red now. And we're going to do some crimson. We're going to work in some stages today, blending and seeing what we come up with. Maybe a touch more over here. Blending brush. I'm just going to soften this gold. Lifting it straight up, pulling it down, just playing with those colors back and forth. Trying not to grab too much dark from down here. We do need to soften it. This just kind of sets it right in. Makes it that nice glow. Now let's give this some movement over here, maybe. I'm going to pick up my fan brush and go just wipe it off. Got a lot of mud in it. And then we can get some titanium white. We'll go right over here. See if we can't play a little bit with this sky and give us some more fun colors. Maybe grab a touch of this pop of yellow. Ooh. I think we're going to have a road here. And we already put all our color down there, so that makes it nice and easy. We'll just soften this out again. Same blending brush. We just kind of dance those colors out into the sky. And it's going to pick up some of the titanium white, and it'll drop it right off in some other places. Automatically, you get all of these fun colors. We'll just soften this out into some type of a mist, maybe. Let's see about a little bit of blue and some white. Dance in a little bit of light over here. A little bit more titanium white. Maybe some lavender. Let's add a touch of crimson to that. Titanium white. bit more color here, just a little bit of a darker pigment, tiny bit. Maybe a little bit more crimson even. I'm going to pick up a nice little sable brush and go into some titanium white and some of my Indian yellow. I'm just going to bring up a few more gold streaks in here. Maybe we can do a little bit with our crimson. Touch of red and titanium white. Just some titanium white. It's nice and thick, and then we're going to drag it up on a couple areas. Nice little band there. Maybe we'll do one more. Just bring it right on over. Maybe a touch of some of our reds. And we can just pull some of that bright red up through that band in a couple spots here. Let's see what we got. Lift that up. Woo! Catching on the canvas. We can just soften a little bit below. Nice and thick paint, so we're going to be grabbing some. That's okay. Let's just get some of this to soften away up here. Now we've got a nice backdrop for all these colors. Just go through and lightly soften these. Now, I think we need just a few pinks up in the sky. Maybe they'll just have some moves here. Soften those. We can bring that together a touch here with some more. Let's do some crimson this time. Same thing. Just a touch of lavender. And lift those up. It's tricky to get them to go straight up. We can get a little bit of movement out onto the edges here. And then we just soften those back. Fun. Yeah, that looks cool. Let's see, maybe we'll do some stars. And we can come back and do more stars later. Sometimes it's just easier to put some in. Try not to thin down your paint too much. We want it just a medium thickness. And we'll start with some pink on the script liner. We just tap in a bunch of little stars. To some of these dark spaces. Now let's do some liquid white. And we want a blue, so we'll get some Prussian blue and liquid white just on the script liner. We start with some darker ones first, and then we kind of work up into some of the lighter stars. A little bit brighter. Now I like to take and just tap on some of these. Sometimes you'll pick some up and you'll tap out a few more while you're doing it. And then we will do a few more pink ones. And we'll let it sit up for a little bit. Let's get some titanium white, liquid white, and bright red. Cool. I like it. This is fun. Let's see about maybe just a touch of phthalo green on the fan brush. I just want to work in a touch more of this phthalo here. Kind of lighten it up a little bit. Big blending brush. Yeah, I like that. Small little thing, but it made a big difference. Okay, now let's paint some trees. I'm gonna build up a color, nice dark color. Just pick up all the darks. Pile it all together. And we're gonna load up our fan brush and build us a little forest. Just wiggle your brush down through all that thick paint to load it up. Lots of paint, lots and lots. Let's pick out our little tree line right down to the road. And we can do just a couple trees. Just standing up above the rest. I lied. 2 more. Maybe 3 more. Ooh, that's a nice one. Let's do the other side. Maybe there's like a little hill out here. And then a bigger hill. Maybe we'll do some big trees over here too. Just kind of fill this in with some texture. Maybe we'll have a couple more trees here in the end. Maybe these will come down. Let's figure out maybe a few little, just cut off a tiny little roll of this paint over here. We'll just tap in a few sticks for our trees. I think we had one right here. We just want to kind of pick out some spots for where they're going to be. Because it's secret right now. Ooh. Let's use just that same fan brush. We'll just grab a little bit, put a little bit more color in here with whatever you have left. On the fan brush. And then we'll use the palette knife and we'll mix up a little bit just with that color, maybe a touch of blue. And let's marble in a little more. We'll cut off a little roll and find our road. It's a snowy road. And I'm just going to start pulling out our road. pick up some of our fun colors. And we can just work in a tiny bit. Let's get some more snow. There's not a lot of paint on this canvas, so the thick paint is just dragging right on top. You can hear the knife, and it's just going to kind of spread that paint out, and it grabs onto the tooth of the canvas. So if you have texture on your canvas, it's going to grab onto that. I like having a little bit of bite to my canvas, and it makes this whole process just a lot more fun. But if you don't have that, then it's going to be a little bit challenging, but you can just play with the thicknesses of your paints and get them to stack up. The only thing you have to focus on here is the direction that you're pulling your knife. Let's do a touch of kind of a medium, a little bit darker now. Let's leave that, and we'll just soften it a tiny bit with the brush, starting at the bottom. Now we can do just a touch of our gold. We've got to be really careful because we actually have a lot of blue in this. Now I want to come in with my dark, which I don't really have a lot left of, and just pick out a few of these trees to kind of come right on top of that. Okay, let's mix up a tiny bit more. I'm going to make this road a little bit bigger here on the edges. So we'll get some paint, marble it up. And then we're going to bring this in. Nice and kind of right off into the corner. Just using my knife now, kind of smush that into the canvas, works pretty good. Let's soften that out with our brush, just to get rid of and kind of bring it all together. Get rid of some of those knife marks. Ice road there, kind of. Oof, maybe it's scary. Maybe you don't want to be driving down it. Fancy. Okay, let's mix up a tiny bit more of our dark because I think we're going to need it. But we're going to start highlighting a few of these trees just to bring them out of the darkness. We just need all of our dark colors. Prussian blue, phthalo green, alizarin crimson, and midnight black. Mix all of those together. Into a big blob. That was probably more than I'm going to need, but okay, fan brush, big blob of paint, and then we'll pick out just a couple of these trees more. Maybe we'll do one more here. Basically can't see them at all, but they're there. Maybe another one here. And then we'll have a few little shrubs here and there. And just kind of some snow down into this bank here. Maybe this whole side will be kind of a snowy bank here. Now we'll pick up just a touch of white into our fan brush. We need to thin it down, so a little bit of liquid white and just some of our tree color. Nothing too crazy, just enough to be able to notice it. And we're going to tap down a few of these trees. And bring them right out. Soften these just a touch. Just barely touch on them, and we can get a little bit of them to soften. And we'll do these ones on the other side. Let's get a touch of our yellow, just a little pop of color. So they can have some of this, kind of this green hue from these green auroras over here. I haven't painted an aurora or aurora borealis, northern lights. haven't really done this in a while. It was a lot of fun. I wanted to keep it kind of a simple scene for us today. And it lets you play around with a bunch of colors in the sky. You can even add more snowy colors into the foreground if you wanted to. But I just really wanted to do a fun, simple scene today. Just lit up by the night sky. Just pulling out a little bit of snow from these banks and kind of touch some of that up in a little bit. Let's do a couple more stars in the sky. I want to lighten up these stars a little. So we'll just go into a light blue. Ooh, that was a big one. I'll just use the blending brush and give it a little bit of a like it never happened. Okay, now we're going to work in some more of these colors into our foreground here. Now that we've gotten some of the basics in, I want to try and develop some of this kind of shapes here. Maybe we need another tree in here. Right down in front. He just kind of comes right on top of our road here, just a little. And let's give them maybe, we could do one right here. Building a whole forest out here. Just tap out your little branches. Make sure that your brush is loaded. Lots of paint. Palette knife, let's just scrape in a few little sticks and twigs. scrape in some little sticks and twigs from these. And let's do some more highlights. Use the same fan brush, a little bit of liquid white. And we're going to play with some reds. Let's see what we can make here. A little bit more liquid white. Get like a nice little bit of an accent color from our sky. Maybe just bouncing off some of the snow. On some of these. Maybe just a little bit of our blue. As we work down. Now we can use a little bit of our liquid white and go into some of our phthalo green. I kind of ran out. Let's get just a touch more of that. And then we're going to use some of this. I'll just pull out some bushes down here, hanging right out by the bottom. And then I'll just soften this edge. Let's see about a few colors, just a tiny bit. This is going to dry a bunch darker, so these will be really, really faint once this all dries. So we can just dance in a little bit of an idea of what some of these bushes could look like over here. Let's pick up a little sable brush and we can just pull some of those edges right in. Just keep softening this back until can't quite tell where those all end and begin. We can scrape in some little sticks and twigs. These will be perfect. They only show up if you come and look up close to these. And maybe we can do a little bit on this tree here. Let's give them a little bit of a highlight. Bright red and some Indian yellow. Soften some of that. And then we'll just kind of put in a little bit of some shadows from that tree on the road. Over here with our sable brush. We'll pull out a few. Of these edges. And bring it all back together by softening it back. All right, just going to soften a few more spots here just to kind of bring it all together. And I kind of feel like that's going to be about it. I'll do just a few little bits of, we'll get some of this gold again. Red and Indian yellow, a little bit more to the red side. Let's play up some of these reds in the scene. And we'll just pop in a few, kind of dancing off of the snow on these little bushes. It's just a little bit of snow. Maybe it's still earlier season and it's not a lot, but there's snow. It's there. Just grab a little bit. Do some of this green. See if I can make that green again. Oh, that's nice. A little darker. I think we just need a little bit of green on these. just going to wipe out the fan brush and open it up on my palette and just tap on a few of these to soften them back a little bit. The fan brush can do some really nice and simple blending for you, but I just like to kind of open it up a little bit. I think it works better like that. Then it doesn't overblend anything. Yeah. All right. I think I'm going to sign this. Looks pretty cool. Very different. I've been into some just some different types of paintings lately. I like to mix it up. I don't like to do always the same thing. I don't want to always be doing just the standard mountain scene. So I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear in the comments below what you think about this little starry night sky with the auroras. It was really fun, and there's tons of different ways that you can paint these. So I just thought I would show you a fun and a simple way to just get some paint out on the canvas and play with some bright colors, because you know that's my style. So I hope you give it a go. And send me your photos if you do. All right, I'm all done with my scene. I hope you enjoyed this very, very fun wet on wet oil painting tutorial. My name is Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you were here for episode 68 of my series Tutorial Tuesday. I love this series. It's my favorite part of the week. We show up every Tuesday and I do a live premiere, so the video will show up for the very first time and we watch it together and do a fun chat and catch up and just see what we've all been up to throughout the week. I really enjoy that, and I've really just had a lot of fun growing this channel and growing this series for you. So I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being a big part of my week and a part of my painting journey. So until next week, smile and be happy, friends.